My name is Ncazelo, and I work for the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, but also I work a lot as a narrative therapist, a trauma counselor in Southern Africa. I started this field of work through, looking at the situation of HIV within Southern Africa, where at the time when I started this work, there was so much trouble happening in communities because of the multiple losses that were largely being experienced by children who were losing their parents to AIDS, etc. And so the circumstances of what was taking place sort of got me thinking about how I could be instrumental and be of help. And that's how I sort of got into the field of therapy and counseling. I'm here in the Symposium because I feel that within the HIV and AIDS sector where we come from, we have a lot to share and offer in terms of our own experiences dealing with trauma and working with children in that context. But also I felt that it was a rich environment for learning and just the opportunity to share and also to hear around the direction that the world is going in terms of responding to children in armed conflict, which I think is a very important issue in our time. A key experience that has shaped my approach is really related to some of the major failures that we experienced when we started working in trauma and working with children specifically. Because we struggled a lot to find interventions that would work, and a lot of the time, what we seemed to be doing had sort of re-traumatizing effects on children's lives. And so I think trying to seek for answers really kind of shaped my work and my passion and lended me into more of what we call narrative therapy, which is more around story development and really being focused on skills of survival, knowledge of survival, and realizing that children's lives are much bigger than the traumas that they've been subjected to. And this really has brought a lot of interest and development in my work. Yes, I think it's basically the whole approach using, narrative therapy, which is really around second story development, understanding that people, who are subjected to traumas respond and that they take initiatives to minimize the trauma, to seek comfort, and also to protect what is important. And when we are able to step into those kinds of, second stories about how they respond, we are able to help to reinvigorate a sense of personal agency and help people to have an outward sort of look into the future and instill hope. So we have had a number of methodologies that we have developed working with REPC, another organization in our region, including Tree of Life, Team of Life, that have sort of embraced and embodied those kind of ideas. And they are currently working in our sector, but also in other countries in the world, which is marvelous because Africa has been able to offer solutions in therapeutic practice to other parts of the world, which is quite exciting. For someone starting this work, I think one of the things that I learned later after going into the work is just knowing that there is so much knowledge and expertise within children, within families, and within communities. And just to put a bit of pressure off yourself to say you need to arrive with solutions, but just availing yourself with skills, listening to communities, and being open to learning their own ways of coping and being educated by them and placing them as the experts in actually finding pathways to their healing. And I think in that way you burden yourself less as a therapist, but you can actually partner with children, with families and communities to finding solutions. And it's less burdensome and you are less at risk of burnout because you do not have to offer solutions. They exist. Yes, you do bring in your expertise, but more in terms of partnership and learning and so forth. And that would be my advice. I think my advice to policymakers is that they need to be very open to learning from their communities and also, the whole idea of promoting local healing practices. And for me, I think that's one of the major issues that policymakers need to be thinking around, just moving away from the psychological colonization that has been a part of the response in therapeutic practice and really homegrown solutions that are sustainable, owned by people, owned by children, their families, and communities.